Broadcasting from Studio 801 in Wakanda, Illinois, you're listening to Pursue Your Dreams Now. Hi, I'm your host, Gina Coates. Today I have with me an accountant and also a very good friend, Ken Rapoport CPA. Ken's accounting practice has been in the north suburbs for approximately 35 years, and Ken's accounting services help individuals and businesses to not just do their taxes on time, but help with all things having to do with taxes and numbers. And I'd like to introduce you to Ken Rapoport.
Nice to meet you. Nice to be with you, everyone.
Thanks, Ken. The first question I'd like to ask you, since this is Pursue Your Dreams Now, is how exactly did Ken Rapoport get interested in accounting?
Well, this harkens back to my days in high school when I met with a guidance counselor who suggested to me, in terms of thinking about what my future plans would be, what types of areas I was mostly interested in. I said specifically that I liked math and math skills, and I was good at numbers. Matter of fact, I had a photographic memory for numbers. I could see a number and then recall it months, if not years later, just by looking at it. So she said, I think accounting has something to do with numbers. At that time, I didn't know anything about accounting. So I quickly learned a little bit about it, took some bookkeeping classes in high school, and discovered that I had an affinity for it. I specifically liked the concept of things balancing, two parts of the equation having symmetry, debits equaling credits, that type of thing. I was fascinated by that, and it served some innate sense of balance. So I decided to make that, to pursue that as a career.
Interesting. I noticed that when you talked about symmetry and balance, that it reminded me a lot of Asian principles and teachings and things that have to do with yin and yang and feng shui.
Feng shui.
Feng shui, thank you. And so I'm curious, it sounds like you're saying that the science of accounting has some art to it.
Yes, it actually is more of an art. Every client situation is unique, every business situation, every individual situation, and when I approach a situation, I'm not looking strictly at numerical values. You have to take the objective of what the client is trying to achieve, what their story is. I try to talk to every client and have them lay out what their situation is in the form of a narrative so that I can see where they're going with it. I can analyze their information and then present it appropriately as if we're telling a story to the IRS or telling a story on and putting their books together, trying to explain what the business is all about. That's something that I enjoy doing.
Interesting. It's also interesting that I'm hearing you talk about clients and their objectives. And one of the things that I think we've talked about offline as well is the idea that you almost have to be a part psychologist in order to really understand and put yourselves in your client's positions so that you do have that deeper understanding. Can you tell a little bit about that?
Sure. Each client is an individual, and people have their own objectives when they come to an accountant. Some are very secretive about their information, and you have to draw things out of them. Some are overly aggressive, and you have to try to rein them in and give them some realistic expectations in terms of what they're able to claim, what they're able to take. And some people are very ultra-conservative, and they need to be drawn out a little bit further in terms of understanding that if there's a connection that an item has to their business, that's considered a deductible item or expensable to the business when they're putting together their business books. So I try to rein everyone into the middle, from all extraneous places, and try to give people a philosophy of of how they should be approaching their business and their record keeping.
Yeah. Thanks for that. And it's interesting that you talked about different clients and really meeting them where they are, wherever they may be. And I know you have mentioned a couple of examples with businesses. However, you do work with individuals as well. And so I did want to point that out. One question for you related to your philosophy of client care. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I specifically am not in this business of just trying to get someone in and out the door. I'm not trying to achieve a goal of maximizing client fees or anything like that. This is something where I genuinely care about each and every one of my clients. And I want to improve their situation. I want to not only achieve their objectives, but also provide them the very best service that I can. I step into the shoes of each of my clients as they come in the door and put my breadth and extent of knowledge in their particular situation, and I try to provide my clients a service in order to present to the IRS, present to a bank, whoever the third-party objective is, trying to provide them the best set of the best scenario that truly and accurately represents each business, while still staying within the letter of the law and still trying to remain in complete compliance. So I genuinely and truly care about everybody's situation, and I empathize with all my clients' personal situations.
Thanks, Ken. One final question to wrap it up today, and this is more along the lines of, if you had 1 minute with a potential client or someone who's doing things differently, how would you answer the following question? I use TurboTax or I use some other software, and why would I need someone like Ken Rapoport CPA?
TurboTax and those types of programs are only as good as the information that you enter into it, just like any computer program. If you don't know the right things to tell it, even though it may ask you from a wealth of knowledge, they don't know your specific individual circumstance and your specific area of your specific facet of taxation. So they may not know to ask you certain things which would clearly be deductible, whether you use your home for business, you use tools, supplies, your cell phone, or whether you've contributed items to your business or to your W-2 job or your self-employed job prior to the onset of your employment. Those are the types of things that I tend to look for to try to maximize the value of deductions for each particular client, and try to maximize the value of their potential tax refund or mitigate their liability. So again, I tend to look more at the global picture, and I think when you're dealing with an individual, it's a different world than just dealing with a computer screen.
Absolutely. I can attest to the fact that you are extremely detail-oriented, and you definitely possess that empathy for your clients. And I so much appreciate you being part of my Pursue Your Dreams Now podcasts. And thanks, everybody, for listening in. And Ken, thanks so much for being my guest today.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you and your guests.
Thanks. We're signing off here from Studio 801, and I'd like to leave you with a thought. Life is short. Pursue your dreams now. Thanks, everybody.